You know, I could be a hack radio talk show host and take the Paul campaign and Romney campaign talking points that have been leaked to certain bloggers, leaked to certain media types, and just regurgitate them and just keep this up endlessly. Tell me about Satan. No. Tell me about condoms. No. Tell me about Arlen Specter. No. Tell me about No Child Left Behind. Senator Rick Santorum, how are you, my friend? Can I ask you some real questions?
You know what? That would be a welcome change to the the kind of ridiculousness that the media and unfortunately my opponents in the primary seem to be focused on. But it is great to be with you. Great one. I love hearing that music because it is all about you. You're doing a great job out there. Thank you.
You're very kind. Well, you have a primary coming up in Michigan. You have a primary coming up in Arizona. So I thought we might actually want to talk about some real issues. So let me ask you this question. President of the United States flies to Miami to do 3 fundraisers in Florida, but he gets a speech in there talking about how the Republicans are blocking him, making an issue out of the high price of gasoline. He takes credit for past administrations of what they've done to unleash some of the production. He talks about all these new oil wells out there. Most of them are on private land, and most of that is in North Dakota. He's obstructed all these things. What do you have to say to Obama?
Well, I would say this. I was in North Dakota a little over a week ago, and I was at a wellhead there, and they told me that they gave me a little sample of the crude that coming out of that well.
How did it taste?
It did well. It's sweet, but it just didn't do anything for me. But it's light sweet crude.
Yeah.
Which, if you go on it, it's the highest valued crude in the world, and they're selling it at a $32 a barrel discount in North Dakota. And the reason is they can't get the oil to market, and so they have to pay an extraordinary amount of money to get that oil down. And we are losing production. Within the next no more than 10 years, we will lose the Alaskan oil fields if we don't open up ANWR. Mexico will be not an importer. That's 1.5 million barrels a day. We'll lose that production. We'll lose Venezuela because, as you know, China's building a refinery there. It's about 5 million barrels we're going to lose. And this president is pulling permits. The amount of permits he's giving are half of what they did under the Bush administration and previous administrations. They're not building the pipeline that's going to bring that oil from Canada and from the oil shale in North Dakota that could replace all of this oil and then some. And here's what I say. We see with natural gas, which is $2.50, it is 1/6 the price of what the world is paying for natural gas, is what we pay here in the United States. Why? Because we're producing like crazy right now. We've driven down costs. That's the way to get the oil prices down. When gas is produced here in this country, you don't have security issues. You don't have to import it from any place, and we can have low, affordable, and safe and clean energy. And this president is blocking on every front. And our plan is to open up the shelf, open up the ANWR, drill on the federal lands where it's appropriate to do so. And again, all of those things this administration is not doing.
Now, how would that help the people in Michigan? It would help drive down the price of fuel and the people of Arizona with these 2 primaries coming up.
Well, I mean, obviously, you're talking people now are starting to feel. I hear this at my town hall meetings that, when you get to $4 and $5 a gallon of gasoline, which is what they're expecting, in the spring in some cities around here, you're talking about a huge hit for a lot of folks who are just getting by. And we still, as you know, we still have high rates of unemployment. We have high rates of underemployment. We have high rates of people who have dropped out of the workforce. This economy is still teetering, and high gas prices will tip it back in the other direction. And the president, what does he do? He blames everybody but himself. And that is, we got to.
And takes credit for what's going on before him.
Wow, yeah, that's all that drilling that's taking place right now. Were all permits granted under the Bush administration, and as I said before, he is denying permits at a record level, cutting the amount of wells that are being going into production under his administration, and taking credit for the production that came from the last administration.
Let me ask you a question, and this is a serious question. We see the Obamas traveling all the time, and not just on business, but these vacations, so many vacations. I mean, to Vail before, to Aspen now, to Martha's Vineyard, to Hawaii. He says this is the worst economy since the Great Depression. He's played I don't know how many rounds of golf, 80, 90 rounds of golf or something like that. He seems to, on the one hand, say, I feel your pain. On the other hand, he seems to live in a bubble. If you were president of the United States, would you or your wife be taking all these trips and doing all these things while a country is suffering like this?
Ever since I decided to take on this challenge of running for president, I've had 5 days off. 2 at Thanksgiving and 3 at Christmas time. I've worked every single day because I think our country is in very, very tough shape, and we need someone who's going to go out there and work hard to see what we can do to put this country back on the right track. And I can tell you, as President of the United States, the last thing I'd be doing is taking long vacations. We have a job to do of motivating the American public, educating them, going around the country, not doing fundraisers and political speeches, but actually trying to motivate the American public, rally them to take on the responsibilities that we have to get this economy going again, but also to shrink the size of government and change this attitude that Obama continues to sing to Americans of dependency and that government can do things better than you. Well, I can tell you as president, we're going to be talking to people all over, and we're going to talk about the problems and the solutions and how we can do this together as Americans, because if you trust the American people, we can do great things.
Now, I want to ask you, I want to keep moving on these substantive issues because I feel we've been bogged down for a couple of weeks now in nonsense, okay? So I want to ask you about, for instance, Supreme Court justices. The next president may be picking 2, 3, or 4 Supreme Court justices. I know this is something you have focused on for much of your Senate career and so forth. Why would you be better at selecting Supreme Court justices than the other candidates? And by the way, what type of justices would you choose?
Originalists, and one who understand the Constitution and its correlation to the Declaration of Independence. The judge that I tend to agree with the most is Clarence Thomas. I think he's got it pretty much right. I mean, I think certainly Scalia and Alito are fine too. Roberts, okay also. I mean, the conservatives on the court are fine, but I do see a difference between them, and I think we need someone who's really well grounded and understands the founders' understanding of the Constitution, the founders' understanding of what made this country great, and in fact, what did make this country great, and how the Constitution was written and very clearly intended to be interpreted. And that's one of the most important things the President of the United States can do. And I've had a lot of experience at that. I've worked very hard in trying to get the Bush nominees passed when I was in the United States Senate. I'm the guy, and I was with Judge Saad, who was one. You may remember that name. He was one of the judges that was held up under the Bush administration. He came to one of my events the other night and to thank me for it, because I was the only guy out there fighting for him. I was out there on the floor, out there.
But let me ask you this: your favorite justice is Clarence Thomas. Did I hear that correctly?
That's correct.
Yeah. So you would appoint justices who are originalists in the sense of Clarence Thomas.
Yes.
All right, that's very important. And what about circuit court judges and district court judges? Same thing.
Look, I mean, I'd confer with folks like Mark Levin and others who understand this issue very, very well. And seriously, I mean, we put together a team at the White House. We would go out and search for the best and brightest, the best minds out there that could fairly and wisely hold up to the original intent of the Constitution and see themselves not as participants in a dispute, but as a referee, as someone who is there on the sideline to decide cases as narrowly as possible, to seek not to make law or to impose themselves, but to really just be what they should be as arbiters at the district court level, and those who are going to the original intent of the Constitution at the appellate level.
All right, I've got 2 more important questions, in my humble opinion. The border security. Every time Ron Paul's asked about this, he talks about the border between Afghanistan and Pakistan.
Yeah,
I want to talk about the border between the United States and Mexico. What would you do about that?
I'd put a fence in place, a wall, actually, not a fence. A fence sounds like something you put around your house, but the idea that we have a border right now that, according to the General County Office, is 42% secure. I don't know about you, Mark. If you have the perimeter of your house is 42% secure, you feeling pretty safe? I certainly
Not really.
don't. No, and so we need 100% security. That's what our national security requires. We have drug lords and gangs and violence. We have all sorts of folks who are coming into this country who do not mean have good intents for coming here. A lot of drugs being smuggled, etc. This is a national security issue. We need to secure this border. We need to put the fencing that's necessary where we should. Obviously, there are areas that can't be for a variety of different reasons, private property, etc. But in that case we need personnel as well as surveillance to make sure that we have 100% security on the border.
Now, we're running out of time. My last question is this. The Reagan Democrats, obviously they were crucial in the general election and Reagan's two landslides. They're really in the industrial heartland. We're talking about blue-collar Democrats for the most, many of whom are union members. That's the tradition you come out of in Pennsylvania and so forth. You're running in Michigan now. How would you attract that vote and at the same time remain faithful to your conservative principles?
Well, I mean, you talk about the things that they're concerned about. You talk about getting the economy going, particularly, the area of the economy where they've been suffering the most with this, energy, with, getting energy jobs and energy prices down is going to have a huge impact on manufacturing. That's what the industrial heartland of America is about. We've lost so many manufacturing jobs, and with it, so many little towns. And I've put forth a plan unlike any other plan. The Wall Street Journal called it the supply side economics for the working man. And tonight, I'm here in Michigan tonight. I've got a speech in a few minutes that we're going to lay out the first 10 things we'll do when I'm elected president of the United States, and we're going to focus on getting this economy going, cutting federal spending, shrinking the size of government, reducing the regulatory burden, not reducing it. I've pledged to eliminate every regulation that Obama put in place that cost over $100 million. We're going to change the attitude of Washington and the regulators there. We're going to trust the states. We'll have a trust but verify with employers in this country when it comes to safety and health and in the environment. That's the way a free market system should work, and the government should be working at the side of business, not riding on their shoulders.
So, for example, a GM or a Chrysler or a Ford, in the case of the former two, rather than nationalizing these industries and destroying the bondholders and so forth, you would have slashed the income tax, the corporate income tax for those companies to zero, correct? That's
the plan. I mean, the plan is to help them compete with an unlevel playing field overseas, and we're at 20% cost disadvantage if you exclude labor costs with our major trading partners on average, and that's because of government taxation and government regulation. And so when people say, why are you treating them differently, it's because we treat them differently, because they compete against folks who, because of the situation in this country with our taxes and regulation, they're at an economic disadvantage. We're going to level that playing field, create an economy where the average worker can go out and produce here in America, get good jobs, get well paid, see their a career where they can rise within the ranks and have an opportunity to provide for themselves and their families and hold that family together, which is so crucial in America today. The financial pressures on families is very harmful and destructive to families today. We're gonna turn that around for average Americans across this country.
All right, I have 90 seconds. But for these other companies and other individuals, you're going to slash their taxes too.
That's right. Cut the corporate rate from 35%, which on April 1 will be the highest in the world. Cut it to 17.5%. And here's the key, Mark. It's a flat tax. One rate, absolutely no deductions, no benefits. It's just a net profits tax. You can, expensing of equipment. It's absolutely simple. It's a very simple tax. And the key to that, Mark, is that small businesses will have the same economic advantages as large business. Not a complex tax code, something the little guy will have a level playing field with the big guy when it comes to paying taxes. So having the smartest accountants and auditors and tax attorneys is not going to benefit the big companies anymore when the tax code gets more and more complex.
When's the last time you had a host actually ask you substantive questions?
When's the last time I was on the show?
It's been a while, hasn't it? And by the way, Gingrich wants on next hour. I'm going to do the same thing. I mean, you guys need to have an opportunity to communicate your messages rather than, your opposition's messages. You know, no, I'm not playing this gotcha stuff anymore, period.
Well, I appreciate it. Look, we've got a great and positive message. We have the background, we have the track record to be able to win in these key states. That's one of the reasons we feel very, very good about our chances. I mean, Michigan's tough. It's Governor Romney's home state, but we're working very, very hard here. We're doing the same in Ohio and Pennsylvania, and we feel very, very confident that the more people learn about our plans and what we want to do to get this economy going and shrink this size of government and restore the family and the community in our country, our culture, that's a win-win-win across the board for America.
Quick question. I mean, quick. Do you agree with me that we're having a harder time in this country finding jobs than condoms? Yes or no?
I heard that line somewhere. That's a very good line. I think that certainly isn't the problem in America. Jobs are a lot harder for sure.
All right, my friend. Best to your family. You guys be safe, okay?
Thank you, my friend.
All right, God bless you.
Take care.
All right, you take care. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I heard Karl Rove on one of these programs yesterday say that Santorum didn't know what he was doing because he wasn't campaigning in Michigan. Didn't he just say, Mr. Producer, he's in Michigan? He's in Michigan right now.